Hi, I'm Elise and welcome to Which Way. In this video, I'll be going through season 2 and 3 of A Discovery of Witches. Released in 2021 and 2022 respectively, this series stars Teresa Palmer as Diana Bishop and Matthew Good as Matthew Claremont. In season 2, Diana is coming into her power as a witch while searching for the mysterious Book of Life. And as a long-lived vampire, Matthew's connections in the 16th century may provide some much-needed answers. So using her time-walking ability, that is where Diana takes them. In season 3, they return to their own time to share what they have learned about the book to restore its missing pages and solve the mystery. The books this series were based on were written by Deborah Harkness and known as the All Souls Trilogy. Being a historian, she was able to include many real-world events and people. I have already done a witch lore review on season 1, so go and check that out if you haven't already. But now let me share with you some of the occult connections from season 2 and 3. After meeting some of Matthew's 16th century friends, such as playwright Kit Marlowe, known for his play adaptation of the Dr. Faustus legend, Diana has her magic tested.
A true witch can unravel the ties that bind the order of things. She can relight a flame and stop a bell from ringing.
This goes one step further in the book to include the opening of a book. This trio leads to the reverse of an anathema, when a person was excommunicated from their church, where a bell is rung, the holy book was closed, and the candles snuffed out. This process was also the inspiration for the name Bell, Book and Candle, the film I have done a witch lore review on previously, so you can go and check that out. I'll make sure I link it below. After this test, Diana seeks out a mentor in Goody Alsop. In the books, Goody Alsop's own teacher was Ursula Southwell, also known as Mother Shipton, who, according to legend, had the ability to prophesize the future, apparently predicting the defeat of the Spanish Armada. Or was that because she had the help of some other witches?
England's witches assisted in repelling the Armada. Surely their loyalty is above suspicion.
You can even visit the place where she was apparently born and later lived in, now known as Mother Shipton's Cave. Also, have a look through her prophecies and see what you can make of them. One of these made its way into the second book. According to Goody Alsop, Mother Shipton was a weaver and taught Goody Alsop how to weave her magic. This brought to mind the engraving by Albert Dürer, where you can see the witch holding a spindle. Diana is also a weaver and has to learn knots in order to be able to weave her magic.
With knot of one, the spell's begun. With knot of two, the spell is true. With knot of three, the spell is free.
This was probably inspired by a witch's ladder, a form of knot magic where one recites these or similar words while knotting string or hair, sometimes including feathers or beads to complete their spell. Apparently, another benefit of being a weaver is that they have familiars. In the book, Goody Alsop's familiar is actually a fetch, a shadow double of herself. Familiars would help a witch carry out their spells to help or apparently to harm, the latter of which was thought to be the case during the witch craze or burning times, which described the spike in witch hunts between the 14th and 17th century. And due to this, traveling into the past may not be the safest place for a witch, but apparently this was taken into account when they traveled back to 1590 England.
20 years before the Lancashire hunts began.
The Lancashire witch hunts happened in 1612, and the Helmsford witch trials, which started in 1566, get a mention in the book as being only memories, though there were witch trials happening in the very year they travelled to.
As I recall, she spent most of this year in Trier.
At the witch trials.
The Trier trials had been going 10 years strong by that time, but one was only just starting and a little closer to home in North Berwick.
The Scottish King's got his hands full rounding up witches.
King James did actually have a hand in the trials, and this was detailed in the pamphlet News from Scotland, declaring the damnable life of Dr. Fian, a notable sorcerer who was burned in Edinburgh January last. Titles were long back then. John Fian was indeed one of the victims from these trials and gets a brief mention in the book, as does Barbara Napier, but only one gets a mention in the TV series.
The imprisonment of Agnes Simpson. Still, torture of their leader poses a risk.
Torture to get confessions was indeed the go-to, largely in part due to one book in particular, The Malleus Maleficarum by Heinrich Kramer, pretty much the handbook for persecuting witches. But this is not the book that Matthew and Diana are looking for, and they try and track the provenance of the Book of Life.
May have belonged to the magician Roger Bacon.
Roger Bacon was a 13th century friar and philosopher, and legend considered him a wizard. Some of his collections may have indeed ended up in the extensive library of occultist and astronomer of Queen Elizabeth I, John Dee, who apparently consulted with the angels.
Sigillium Dei.
The design was dictated by the angels, Mistress Royden.
The Sigillum Dei, or Seal of God, was dictated to Dee through his medium, Edward Kelly.
My previous scryer abandoned me in Bohemia.
Edward Kelly.
So to Bohemia they go, where they cross paths with yet another historical figure.
Allow me to introduce the Rabbi Lowe, known as the Maharal, a learned scholar.
Rabbi Lowe was indeed a Jewish mystic and philosopher, and is asked about a golem.
In Prague, men speak of a man of clay, animated by Jewish magics. The name of God written inside its skull.
Rumors, Your Highness, designed to inspire fear of our people.
Legend has it that Rabbi Lowe himself created this golem, but inspiring fear of Jewish people was all too true. Many were prejudiced against them, and they were forced to wear identifying markers, such as the yellow circle. Later, Rabbi Lowe was apparently entrusted with one of the pages from the Book of Life, which made its way to Diana in season 1, and the search for the final pages continues when they travel back to their time in season 3. But one of the first things they have to do when they arrive is attend a witch's funeral. I feel like this did a good job at representing some pagan or Wiccan funeral rites, some of which indeed take place in an outdoor setting with the body on an altar and either in a wicker coffin or sometimes wrapped in a shroud. This funeral takes place in an old temple to the goddess Diana, our protagonist's namesake, who is also known as Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, and she is still worshipped by some witches today. Much of the rest of the last season is wrapped up in creature politics, and some things from the book were obviously left out of the TV adaptation. One especially, though, that I thought was worth a mention: the character Janet Gowdy, a witch representative on the creature congregation and a descendant of Isabel Gowdy, a woman who confessed to witchcraft in 1662. Multiple times, 4 confessions over a series of 6 weeks, where she recounts coven meetings, dealings with the devil and the fairy queen, and reciting charms that would give her the ability to shapeshift into a hare or a black cat. If you have read the books, you will know why I mentioned Janet Gowdy, as she plays her part during the creature congregation meetings. This could be her, because I don't think she's actually named in the show. Let me know what you thought of the adaptation. I was not a fan of some of the changes in the final season. The second season was gorgeous, but Satu would not have sided with who she did. If you know, you know. Also, if you haven't read the books, let me know what you thought of this series from a different perspective. This series scores for lore, history obviously, and the craft. The books are definitely worth checking out so you can fully appreciate the amount of detail that Deborah Harkness went into. For an in-depth look at the series, you can actually check out her The World of All Souls, a complete guide to a discovery of witches, Shadow of Night, and the Book of Life. I have yet to check this out myself, but I would definitely love to get my hands on it. Let me know what you thought about this series and any other recommendations for my witch lore reviews. If you liked this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe, and as always, thank you very much for watching here on Witch Way.